Scotland. Finally speaking about Scottish football. Big Ange Postecoglou. Back to back titles for Big Ange Postecoglou. Now, obviously, I don't have a horse in the race when it comes to Scottish football. As you can tell by my accent and by where I live and the top I'm wearing, I really don't care about Scottish football. But I've obviously taken a liking to Scottish football over the recent times because of the heavy Australian presence that litters the league. Obviously, Hearts being the main team when it comes to players. Hibs have had a couple in the last couple of years. Celtic, obviously, with Big Ange. And I think my affinity to one in particular is Ange. I adore that man with all my heart. Like, he is the number one, my favourite person in football, right? So I will follow him wherever he goes, as long as it's not Tottenham. So seeing him win back-to-back leagues, obviously he's won a couple of cups in between then, it goes to show, like, especially from an Australian perspective, but what's actually possible, right? In what is actually possible from a footballing perspective, and being able to silence the critics, silence the doubters, and just taking risks, right? Because Ange Postecoglou is a world-class manager. Like, he is a world-class manager. It's I know it's Scotland. I know he has the best team. I know he spent money, but you don't have the resume that he has. A-League, multiple A-League trophies. Or maybe not multiple, but he's got A-League trophies, Asian Cup, the Japanese League title, and then 2 Scottish leagues. It's that steady progression that is a lot more helpful than going from nowhere to somewhere overnight, because you miss out on a lot of crucial and valuable steps in that process. I think he's done the hard yards. He's been made to earn it. And I know Celtic fans won't want to say this because obviously Celtic are a massive club. I'm not doubting that for a second. I mean, just look at the scenes when they did win the league, right? And the reception he's got. Celtic are a massive club, no doubt about it. But there is obviously levels to like players, like there is with players as managers, and there's always a level up, especially from the Scottish League, right? With all due respect, and trust me, I know the Scottish League has a lot of quality, right? So, I look, time isn't. I wouldn't say time's running out for him. How old is he? He's in his late 50s, isn't he? He's in his late 50s, isn't he? Is he? Yeah, he's 57. 57, so he's probably got 10 years left, right? 10 years, maybe 12, 13, 15 years left at that peak, right? Until he reaches 70 and probably wants to come home and retire and go back to the grassroots football. Maybe he can coach South. That'd be funny if he can go back to South Melbourne and coach. But I think maybe he'll stick it out for one more year, get the three-peat, go back to back, and then I can see him taking a big step. There will be clubs in demand. He'll be in demand. 1,000,000% he'll be in demand. And it's up to him. It's up to him whether or not he wants to take it. I would be very, very, very careful with him. I trust his judgment to pick the right option. Staying at Celtic for one more year is definitely a right option. And mate, I mean, in saying this, he could so easily just stay at Celtic for 10 years and win 10 trophies. He's that good. Celtic are that good and that well placed to do that, right? So it is one of those kind of wait and see type things. But speaking out from an Australian perspective, he's the best, right? He's the best. He's the best kind of football. I spoke about this last year. Him and Sam Kerr, they're the 2 best footballing exports that are currently in football, kind of playing / in the football eye, who are active in football in some respect, I should say. Obviously, you have likes of Kuhl, Viduka, and these type of players, right? Cahill as well, who have done good stuff in the past, right? But to me, he's the best. Like, he's the best thing that has come out of this country from a football perspective. It's like, and what frustrates me the most is how we treat him. How we treat him, how we disregard him, how we disrespected him, and he pissed off and found another home in Japan and then pissed off again and has found a home in Scotland. I hope there can be some reconciliation happening there. It would break my heart if there wasn't an opportunity for that to happen. Obviously, I'm not saying he should be the Australian national team coach by any means, but I'm just saying, he's the thing that this country should be the most proud of when it comes to football, because he is a product of everything that traditionally and to non-football purists shouldn't get you far in football. Because for those who aren't Australian, obviously, for those who don't know, there is a massive backlash towards the sport of football in this country, right? And I could be doing a whole podcast about this. It comes down to a lot of different factors. Anyway, for those who know, you know, and for those who don't know, look it up. You have Google for a reason. But he's the epitome of what should fail in the eyes of a lot of people who don't love this sport. Grew up as a person of ethnic background, parents were migrants, dad couldn't speak English, and he went to football, a game for the migrants, Sheila's Logs and Poofters, all that good stuff. And he applied straight in the NSL. Then he won how many titles for South Melbourne, then he coached in the NSL. I think he may have won a couple of titles for South as a coach. Then he went to the A-League, which we all know people's opinions about the A-League. Was very successful in the A-League. Then he went to the Socceroos. We all know people's opinion about the Socceroos, especially on average across the last maybe 20 years. Succeeded at the Socceroos level. Then he went overseas, and to a lot of people, it's Europe or bust. It's why you're going to go to Asia when Europe's a lot better. You're not going to succeed if you go to Asia. What's the point? Goes to Asia, succeeds. Then he goes to Europe. But once he goes to Europe, it's, you can only make it in Scotland. You're not even good enough for the Premier League, etc., etc. Why are you going to Scotland? You're not going to succeed in Scotland. There's no point, etc., etc. Wins 2 leagues. He's doubted critics all along the way, and he's been a person who has not taken no for an answer all along the way, and I think that is very indicative of, I don't want to use this word, but it kind of ties back to the Socceroos, which we've spoken about countless times on this podcast, and the Aussie DNA, right? Backs against the wall, no one thinks you can do it, sticking the 2 fingers up and say, you know what, I'll show you what I can do. I just love that man with all my heart. It's beyond a football kind of. I love his tactics, or I love the way that he plays, or I love how he approaches stuff in the media. It's beyond all of that, right? It's what he stands for as a person, and except all that good stuff. If you hear him speak, he's so charismatic, so inspirational, and I think as a coach, he's world class as well. Above all else, as a person, he's great. As a coach, he's world class. Combining the two to make a fucking unreal football manager. Anyway, that's enough of my love piece to Ange Postecoglou. If you're listening, Ange, subscribe. Okay, moving on.